Hello, and welcome to Enlightened Empaths, your community for the spiritually awakened, where we discuss, explore, and connect with fellow empaths, healers, intuitives, and seekers. Hello, empaths. Today we're going to be talking about the connection between creativity and being an empath. We often think of creativity as a gift or a talent, limited to those with a natural ability in the arts, music, writing, crafts, or a multitude of other modalities. But creativity is the ability to come up with new and original ideas to find solutions to problems. It involves thinking outside of the box and looking at possibilities others may overlook or not see as viable. Creative thinking is necessary and utilized in art, science, and business, just about any field, because it's how we innovate and adapt to changes in the world around us. And you know what, Denise, I think makes empathy and creativity such a natural and strong link is perspective.
Very
Because,
much so.
empaths, we have a unique ability to see a situation, a person, or a problem from so many different perspectives. And I think that's such an asset when we're talking about creativity.
Right. And I think sometimes people limit creativity to being a product or a craft or a talent. And it's not, it's a mindset. It's very much, can you apply all of this to those things? Yes. But this is that ability as empathic people, which goes hand in hand with intuition, of being able to discern and see solutions that other people might not see.
Yes, exactly. Think about writers. They don't just invent characters, they embody them. They breathe life into them. They feel the character's fears and hopes, desires, and contradictions. And so when you're an empathic intuition, you also are able to step into someone else's shoes and imagine what life is like for them. And I think that this kind of perspective helps encourage and enriches our creative life too.
Oh, I agree because, really everyone has the potential for creative thought, but some characteristics make it easier for some people to tap into that creativity. Being more open-minded or curious or willingness to take risks all make it easier to connect with the creativity, but also, again, can help someone access those innovative possibilities that if you're just following the mainstream or drinking the Kool-Aid, as I'm fond of saying, you might miss out on.
Yes, exactly. Well, also, when you're creative and you're in touch with your intuition and your empathy, it also helps you to take more creative risks and to have more courage. Because think about it, when you're able to see things from other people's points of view, not only does it enhance your imagination, your foresight, and your insight, but it also allows you to see the importance of your creative idea, which in turn gives you the push of courage needed to really and truly share your talents with the world.
Exactly. That's so well said because I think sometimes, and I'll compare it to intuition. Many empaths are naturally intuitive, very sensitive, very aware of what's going around them. And then they'll say, this is great, but what do you want me to do with it? How can I apply that in my everyday life? How can I use this as a tool to not only improve my quality, but to make a difference for someone else?
All right, let's break it down with some sciencey nerd facts, okay?
Okay. I do love a good sciencey nerd fact.
Tell us what you found from neuroscientists studying this.
So if intuition comes from the brain's ability to quickly process information based on past experiences and patterns, and that goes hand in hand with what we've always said of intuition, mediumship, connection with spirit, they'll use your memories, experiences, expertise. But neuroscientists have shown that our brains are wired to make decisions based on both rational reasoning and intuitive responses. And psychologists support that with the belief that intuition is a cognitive process that combines knowledge, experience, and emotions. So I think this is really similar because both are an unconscious or subconscious reaction to our brains constantly absorbing and analyzing data from our surroundings. And the complexity and speed that this happens often comes across as a gut feeling. So we may be unaware of it because our minds are always working in the background, making these connections and organizing the information that later manifests as an intuitive hit.
Oh, very, very true. All right, I have another science fact. because we know that neuroscience shows that the brain regions that are activated during empathic experiences, like the prefrontal cortex, for example, are the same areas of the brain that are lit up when you're creatively thinking. So when you're imagining someone else's experience, your brain is already in that creative mode. Now, I think this is what makes intuition and creativity such a beautiful link. However, Denise, I think this is also what makes developing your intuition such a struggle.
I agree.
Because people
100%
are like,
agree.
am I imagining this? Am I making this up? Because it's the same areas of your brain that are lit up.
But don't you find that when you can find science to support it or actual brain chemistry to support it, this is an odd choice of words, but it normalizes the ability to build that intuitive muscle.
Yes, yes. Which is why I always think studying, researching, and talking about this is so important because it tamps down that fearful, egoic mind who's like, what are you doing trying to develop your intuition? Who are you to think you're creative? When we have the facts to back it up, I do think that it kind of pushes that anxious, doubtful thinking into the recesses of our mind where it belongs.
And you know what just popped into my head is we've always been on the side of many, many empathic people develop the skill to be able to read the room, to be able to pick up and discern other people's energies based on either previous trauma or childhood experiences or, just whatever it may be. Isn't that interesting that, they're saying it gives you a stronger problem solving skill set that goes with that creativity because did you hardwire yourself from an early age to trust that more?
Well, that's true. I never really thought about that.
I didn't either till just now.
Well, there you go.
So I think we need to look at how are creativity and intuition really connected, because they'll often say highly creative people have strong intuitive skills. You're a perfect example. I know when you were writing your books, which are fabulous, that sometimes you said you'd be so in the zone that it would just come right through you. You worked collaboratively with spirit with a lot of the things that came through. Yes, you use that cognitive process of doing the hard work and the writing skills and the editing and everything else. It feels like it was very much a collaborative effort. And I think that intuition makes these connections between things that might seem unrelated. So did that happen when you were writing?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's whole parts of it I barely remember writing. And I love that feeling anytime I do anything creatively, even if it's just baking. That feeling of just looking at the clock and going, okay, I have 1 hour to focus on this. And it feels like 10 seconds later, you look at the clock and the hour is gone.
Yes.
It's like being a time traveler when you are fully engaged in the creative process, and it's almost like giving your thinking brain a rest for a while. And for people like me who do live in our heads a lot and are constantly thinking and overthinking, doing something creative is like a big exhale for the soul.
Oh, it's a beautiful description. And we've both done many readings over the years. And how many times have you been doing a reading and then something which seems really random and disconnected comes through? A thought, a memory, a nudge, but it's exactly what the person needed to hear. I feel like that's connecting with that creativity of a problem solving, but also our intuition at the same time.
Yes, and even when I'm not doing a reading, don't you find that'll happen? Like I'll be talking to a friend and I'll bring up something and they'll say, "Oh my gosh, I've been thinking about that," or "Gosh, that story helps me solve this problem." Like don't you ever find yourself, I'm not patting myself on the back. I think this is any of us when we're engaged and connected to our intuition. Don't you find yourself saying the right thing at the right time frequently?
Yes, and it's usually spontaneous and random, and it's not a planned thought. It's not, oh, they're giving me this problem. This is the solution that I can offer to them. It just kind of flies out of your mouth, and they're like, oh my God, that's exactly what I needed to hear.
And that's another link with creativity. Because if I'm doing a reading, if I'm trying to focus on your energy and I want that reading to go well, guess who has a crappy reading?
Mm-hmm.
It's only when I put myself in that energy of surrender and trust and letting go that the energy flows and I have a really good reading. It's the same with creativity. If I sit down and I'm like, okay, I'm going to draw today or I'm going to write today, nothing comes to mind. Nothing. But if I'm just going about my day and hopefully I'm still making time to meditate and tune into spirit, I could be doing anything, folding laundry or, reading another book or what have you. And then an idea pops into my head and I just got to jump on it.
And I think that happens too. Like we think of creativity, and you're right, writing, painting, drawing, do whatever it might be. But what for those of us that may be a little more stubborn, not that I know anyone like that personally,
No.
but just saying, when you're trying to fix something or figure something out and you get so intense on, I'm going to make this happen, I'm going to do this. And then you step away from it. And then suddenly you get this insight of, wait a minute, maybe if I try it this way, it will work. I think that's also that tie to that creative part of your brain.
Yeah, I do too. On my other podcast, we were doing our monthly Q&A, and a listener wrote in and said that she randomly, from time to time, the song Alleluia pops into her head.
It's a great song.
It's a great song. And so, Deb is giving her interpretation of the meaning of that song, and it was a beautiful answer. And all I can think about as I'm reading this email and listening to Deb talk is I just see this like little band of guides with their hands in the prayer position going, Alleluia, she finally heard us. Like I just kept seeing that. And so I told her to pay attention to when that song pops into her head, because I feel like it's her guides going, oh, that's how they must be with all of us. I know myself, if I'm very worried about a situation and I cannot see the best path forward, yes, I ask my guides. Yes, I attempt meditation. But if I'm in that hyper worried energy, there's nothing. It's like a clogged drain. Nothing's coming through. And I can maybe even feel them around me trying to drop an answer in. Doesn't matter. I have to get myself out of that energy, out of that worrying space, either through physical exercise or a creative endeavor or engrossing myself in a really good book before the idea, the solution, the path is dropped in. And whenever that happens, I do feel that image I saw with that listener of, hallelujah, she heard us.
And that's a fun example. It's a really fun example. A great way to remember it too.
But you're right that creativity comes in many, many, many forms. It's not just for actors, writers, artists, woodworkers, bakers. Let's say you're a designer or a website developer and you've got a problem, right? You've got to build a website or decorate a house or what have you. You have to understand your customer. You have to listen, observe, and feel their frustration and see their vision. But you also have to get out of your own way. So I just want to stress that there are so many different ways that we can engage our creativity. It doesn't have to be the stereotypical paintbrushes and watercolors.
Right. And it is honoring that, trusting, I guess is a better word than honoring, trusting that what's coming through is worth pursuing. So there was a study done at Northwestern University that also supported that intuitive insights lead to innovative solutions and the ability to connect distant ideas. So it goes back to step away from it and you might get more insight. But the research also showed that people who rely on intuition tend to be more open to novel ideas and more adept at creative problem solving. And when I had read that, I thought about, and I've shared this before many, many years ago on the show, my older son is very good with machinery, fixing stuff, making it go better, faster, bigger, whatever. He has a knack for that. His mindset is very linear, and he used to dream about how to fix things. Like he'd be really troubled with how to fix an engine or to get something to work better or how to, replace a part. And then he'd dream about how to do it. And I always used to joke with him because he thinks this is a lot of, I don't know about this. Do you have both oars in the water? But to me, he was tapping into that intuitive creative source to find a problem that was a solution to a problem that was eluding him. So you might apply this in a very practical way or in a different way than exactly what you just said, than what's traditionally seen as I'm empathic, I'm intuitive, I'm a sensitive.
That is such a great example. There's a book on, it's similar to Shakti Gawain's book Creative Visualization, except it relies heavily on research of innovators, inventors, and scientists. And the writer of that book talks about how Tesla did exactly what your son did. He would come up with an invention or something, and he said he would always see it in his mind first, and then he would dream about it. And it got to the point where he wrote in his own, in Tesla's book, that he didn't really even need notes because it was all in his imagination.
Right. And that same son he was little, and he said to me one time, he said, well, I can see the schematics in my head. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, I can see why the electricity works the way it does. I can see the schematics. And I mean, my brain obviously
Oh,
isn't
am I
wired that
at
way.
that point and tell him to reserve a spot?
No, because that he's just that child
Wow.
that he's wired differently. I think we all are, but I think finding your strength is what we're talking about in. So the real question becomes, can we use our intuition to tap more into these creative thoughts and solutions? And how do we even do that?
Well, let's talk about some ways. One thing you can do is use it to spark new ideas because our intuition is often the catalyst for inspiration. So many artists, writers, and innovators report that their best ideas, as we've just been saying, come as those sudden intuitive flashes, those aha moments. And these moments of inspiration can arise when least expected, making it essential to stay tuned to our inner thoughts and feelings. And I think that's really, really important. You've got to put the idea out there into the world, meaning, let's say you can. Sometimes I'll feel a creative idea coming to me, but I have no idea what it is. I don't even know how to explain that. But have you ever sensed that, Denise? Like you can feel something new being birthed in you?
Yes.
Yeah, but you might not know what it is or what it's going to look like. So what I'll do is I'll kind of just put it out there. I'll tell my guides, like, I'm sensing this, help me give birth to it. What is it? Help me give it shape and form so it'll be of service to others. And then I just try to stay open to any ideas that pop into my head. I like to have visual reminders if I'm working on this. That's why I like to, you can wear a bracelet around your arm, you can put post-it notes up, but just having those visual reminders of that you're seeking this creative insight, I think is helpful. That way you might just be in the shower and ta-da, the idea pops into your head. Or you could just be sitting down to the dinner table after a long day of work. And as the first bite of your food goes in your mouth, boom, you have the whole idea.
And those are the countless, countless ways that have come up over, going back to what you were saying about Tesla, over and over and over. People that randomly had a thought of, wow, wouldn't this work better if, or this isn't being addressed in society. We really need a way to. Those are perfect examples of when my words for that would be when you're able to get yourself out of the way and let it come through you in a way that's going to be of service to other people.
Yes, but it reminds me of one of my favorite quotes. If you want your ship to come in, you better build a dock.
Right.
And
Exactly.
I think it's so important to prime the pump, as they say, if you're waiting for that.
Another really strong use of this is to be able to overcome creative or mental blocks. So it goes back to what you said a few minutes ago of you sit down, I'm going to write today, and then it's that blank paper sneering at you. A lot of creatives know that feeling, that creative block can stifle innovation and productivity. But when you are able to, again, get out of the way and start to allow that intuition to come in, it can serve as a guiding force during these moments, bringing in the insights and helping you overcome those barriers. So when we start to trust our gut feelings and explore these new directions, we can often break through those creative or mental blocks that are holding us stuck.
Now, Ray Bradbury says that when you have that moment, you should just push through. In
Right.
his essay, Meeting the Muse, he says you have to show up every day at the same time to meet the muses. I don't know about that. I think sometimes when you have that creative block, you can still show up and meet the muse, but maybe do something else that day. I feel like a creative block for me and for us intuitives in general is usually a a little yellow warning sign of heads up, you need to focus on some self-care, or you need to do some energy work, or you need to take a time out.
And there's usually, I mean, how many countless people have you talked to over the years when they're highly creative, there's a deadline, or there's an expectation from an agent, or there is a self-imposed expectation of getting something done, which causes fear and hesitancy, and it just makes it worse.
Yeah, it makes it block. And then that's when I will often go to my intuitive tools. So I'll just play with some oracle decks, or I might look at some tarot cards, or I can't tell you how many times Michael has come into the house and I'm on the floor with all my bowls of crystals around me. And he'll go, "Oh, is it playtime again?"
That is so sweet. No, that he doesn't dismiss it or doesn't.
No.
That's beautiful.
But that helps me to kind of reconnect, is to just do something that I absolutely love to do. And so I think that is also connected to intuition, when we can really, intuition is in every word that we're talking about. With intuition starts with IN, right? Insight, inspiration, intuition. It's going in. And
Yeah.
so anything that can help you go in and really get to know yourself and what you need in that moment is going to help you.
And it helps you start to trust yourself more in other areas as well.
Yes. It helps enhance problem-solving abilities. Intuitive thinking allows for rapid problem-solving. When faced with a complex dilemma, intuition enables us to tap into our experiences and instincts to arrive at solutions quickly. And this is, of course, incredibly beneficial in creative fields when time is often limited and all sorts of solutions are required on the spot.
Right. Because when you're coming from a place of originality, and that's what this does, is it encourages you to think in an original way, not just follow the pack or do it the way it's always been done. And when you're able to start trusting your gut and going with it, that's when those unconventional ideas and perspectives that might challenge the status quo can come in. But this is really vital for creativity, because those original ideas have the potential to not disrupt in a negative way, but to really switch up industries and to set new trends.
Yeah, well, another quote I love is by Albert Einstein. He says, "Creativity is seeing what everyone else has seen and thinking what no one else has thought."
Oh, gotta love Einstein.
I know, but isn't that such a great definition of originality?
Yeah.
Now, when you are tapping your intuition and connecting it with your creativity, it does also improve decision making, because a lot of creative people, they have to face a lot of decisions that need both the left brain and the right brain side of working, both the rational analysis and intuitive judgment. But in relying on our intuition can help really balance those both sides of our brain, leading to well-rounded decisions that take into account facts and innovation and originality.
And I don't know about you, but decision fatigue has been ridiculous lately.
Oh, same.
E-
Yeah. Too many.
Every too much, too many choices, too much to decide, everything feeling. And I was joking about this with someone recently, and I said, I caught myself standing in the grocery store staring at two very similar bottles of salad dressing. And I was reading the ingredients, and I just stood there like a dub trying to decide which one I wanted. And then finally it's like, I almost swore there. Oh, for crying out loud, Denise.
Well, you
just
couldn't
just
see me looking at the milk. I was like, wait a minute. Okay, almond milk is bad. It's taking up too many almond trees. And then I was like, what, oat milk? Wasn't there something bad I read about oat milk? And I was like, oh, Samantha, just buy some milk.
Yeah, but it's overwhelming right now. And I think if we can, wherever we can start to feel more confident in any decisions we make. I'm doing this online program right now. It's just this quick thing for a month. And the woman was saying, make a commitment to one thing that you can be successful at every day. And she said, we get so overwhelmed with trying to do it all, get everything done, follow the list. She said, just pick one small thing. If it's, I'm going to drink 2 glasses of water today, I'm going to walk an extra 5 steps. She said, but make it something that you can be successful at. because that's going to help rewire your brain and convince you that you're more capable and bring in more confidence. And I love that. I love that perspective.
I do too. Wow.
Um, but there are ways to build this stronger bridge between intuition and creative thought. And one way is finding hidden patterns. So if you're really good at finding patterns without needing detailed step by step, being able to see the connections others don't is often critical for creative breakthroughs. And to me, that ties in if the example would be when we're doing a reading with someone and they have an idea for a new business and they're bringing in, this is my goal, but they can't figure out quite how to task analyze to get to that goal. And you're able to, just because you have that perspective of not being as emotionally involved in it, say, oh, have you thought about this? What about that? Would this work? I really think that you're seeing the patterns that other person just hasn't been able to see from their perspective yet.
Do you play the game Connections, the New York Times game?
No.
Oh, you would like it. It's it's this. It has all these words, and you have to find the connections between the words.
Oh, I love that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, you've got to go play it, Denise. I'm addicted. I play it every day. And it's fascinating because if I play Connections by myself, it takes me at least twice as long to figure out the pattern as opposed to when I'm playing the game with someone else. And someone will see something I didn't see, I'll notice something they didn't notice, and we can get it done in under a minute. And so it's just a great reminder that creativity is so often a collaborative effort.
Very well said.
I love to find patterns, not in detailed step-by-step analysis, but I like to see patterns in different things all the time. I'm always looking for that subconsciously. Like
Mm-hmm.
in yoga, when we do our balancing poses and you have to, stare at a fixed point on the floor, the way I maintain my balance is I try to find a pattern in the spiral of hardwood on the floor. Do you do
Oh,
stuff like that?
yeah,
Oh,
I do. And we joke about it and say, uh-oh, Rain Man, look for the pattern. But I think it helps.
yeah, I do too. And it's a great, another little, if you're having a crystal play date, listeners, something you can do is go through your little bowl of crystals and find patterns in the crystal. And it's a wonderful gateway to meditation. Another way you can build a bridge between intuition and creative thought is by trusting unconscious thought. Sometimes the best ideas and solutions come when we're not actively thinking about a problem. Since our intuition continues working in the background, this is when sudden insights and ideas can come in. That's my favorite kind of creative aha moment.
Me too. It's when you shut your brain off from trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And that goes back to what you said about the guides. It's almost like they sit up straight and say, oh, okay, she got her ass out of the way. Now we can get in with some insight.
Okay, but I also think that it's that, and I also think that there's like a collective guides system that works in a different way. Years ago, I did research for an older show on ideas that are floating around the collective unconscious. And so, for example, one of the things I researched was how many people applied for the same patent on the same day. And what triggered it for me was a woman was beaten to the patent office for the telephone by Alexandra Graham Bell by like an hour. And I remember reading that and saying, is that really true? So I did some research. But there's like, I almost feel, Denise, like there's these certain guides and their job is to drop ideas into the collective unconscious that people are ready to receive. And whoever is just open and receptive and aligned with that idea in terms of their talents and abilities and skills can grab that idea and run with it. Does that make sense? Like
It it makes
the other
perfect
side doesn't
sense.
care who gets it. It's just someone's got to grab this and run with it. And so sometimes when I have sometimes I have these unconscious ideas that are really good. And I'm like, ooh, I better write that down. Half the time I do, half the time I don't. And then I'll read a book or I'll see a movie and I'm like, oh man, I was given that idea too. And I let it go. I think that's why so many people tried and failed, but tried to sue J.K. Rowling saying they had the idea for Harry Potter. Because it was just in the collective. And she was the one who took it and grabbed it and ran with it and did such an amazing job with it.
Yeah, but we've heard that for years and years and years, is that spirit is going to drop it in. So just let's use your book example. You got the insight, this is a book I need to write. This feels right in my soul. Someone else may have gotten that same insight and said, I'm not ready to do that, or it's not my time to do that. But it's being provided. And I was thinking about that collective the other day because it's one of my obsessive thoughts. And I thought, if everything is based on what we bring through from the collective, or intuitively or creatively, based on our insights, our experiences, what we've gone through, our base of knowledge, our strengths, our weaknesses, are we constantly adding to that collective that are giving someone else something to tap into?
Yes.
And that there's a reciprocity now between what the guides, what the higher levels are providing in that collective energy, and what we're always uploading to it for someone else to use.
Yes, I love that perspective because, to be honest, I've been a little, I don't know, not sad, but just like, about my next creative project because it feels as though everything has been written 1,000 different ways, but it's the same old, same old. Like, thank you for saying that about my book, but there've been like, I don't know, maybe 1,200 books written on soul plans, right? But I think it's important for us to remind ourselves that whatever idea comes through you comes through your unique self. And so it's going to be birthed into the world in a different way than someone else writing a book about soul plans.
Right. And that's a really, really, really important point to add to that, because when we're stuck in that place of I'm blocked, I can't get anything, everyone else is doing this, when you're able to step back and allow that intuition and creativity to come in, it can help you bypass those filters and restrictions that are stifling you. So when you start to listen to those gut feelings and start to trust it a little bit more, I think that's when those unexpected solutions and new ways of thinking can come in.
Yes, I do too. I do too. Now, should we talk about some ways to boost your intuition?
Yes.
Okay, so I think this is important. I know we go over this a lot, but practicing mindfulness is key because then you're not going to be open and receptive when those aha moments are dropped into your mind. So, meditation, deep breathing, anything that's going to still the conscious mind is going to allow intuitive insights to come through more easily. And mindfulness also supports focus and awareness, which leads to more creative thinking.
Right. And this next one, engage in diverse experiences. So the more you expose yourself to varied experiences and learning new things, that can help enrich your intuition. And the more you have to draw from, the stronger your intuitive insights will be. So travel, learning new skills, or reading different genres of books. And I was thinking about The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, and how she always says, take a play date, do something different, go to a museum, take a walk someplace you've never been. That is going to add to, build new synapses, new firing pins in your brain to bring in that creativity and connection.
Yeah, exactly. In ways you can't even imagine until you get there and see what's actually happening.
Right.
And just opening yourselves up to different perspectives and seeing situations and people and places that you haven't seen before is just so emotionally instructive. And of course, journaling your thoughts. Write down your ideas, feelings, and gut instincts. It helps you trust the intuitive nudges more, but it can also incite more creative thoughts and ideas. And when we say journal, you don't have to sit down with like a leather bound journal and an ink pen and what have you. It can be anything. You can just have a small notebook that you carry with you. I just watched Eminem's new documentary last night, Stands.
Okay.
Very good, by the way. And they showed his OG journals of how he writes his lyrics down, and it was wonderful. It was just all over the page. There's no margins. There's no margins for Marshall. All over. And he talked about how he tried really hard to be organized with his journal. Like he was like, I tried to write these types of lyrics in blue ink and these types in red ink. And he's like, it just didn't work. So you have to always make it your own, but it doesn't have to be perfect or beautiful or pretty. It can just be scrambled and all over. It's just a matter of getting it out.
And that's always something that you've promoted in your Be Your Own Psychic class, in the mediumship classes that we've done. Keep a journal of the hits you're getting, because that's going to build that muscle, but it's also going to help you get the confidence to realize, wow, I'm getting more than I thought I was.
But you might be in a place. I know when I have been in high stress situations in my life, ironically, I can't journal.
Right.
Are you like that?
Well, it's different because that's just for me like drinking coffee and brushing my teeth. So
You're so
it's
good at
well,
consistency.
yeah, but yeah, showing up for that is really important to me.
Well, I guess it's not for me. I don't know how to say that. But if I'm like when I was going through my cancer diagnosis, for example, I couldn't journal. I couldn't be like, "Dear diary, today I'm very worried about my." It was too overwhelming. I didn't want to face it. I didn't want to think about it. I would pray about it, but I didn't want to actually give time and attention and write about it. So I would still journal though. That's when I started journaling about the tarot cards. And I
Right.
would like try to connect it to a crystal and I would just write about that. And it was interesting because the tarot card that I pulled usually reflected the inner angst and worry that I was feeling. You know, there were no star cards being pulled.
No, no. But that's a really good point, because a lot of times I just write. It's just, it's the habit of writing. It's not that any deep insights are coming in, or it's just boring. It's not, it's more the habit of showing up. So I think there is an ebb and flow to all of this.
Yeah, I do too. I do too.
But being willing to embrace some risks and failures, it's really important. If you're too afraid to fail that you don't even try, um, you're not going to build the resilience and the self-confidence to really tap into that. We were speaking a little bit before we started to record about the impact on society of the instantaneous of everything that we're able to access. And that's kind of vague, but not really. And I think that some people are so afraid that they'll be humiliated, or they won't be enough, or they'll be compared to someone else, or they'll somehow not measure up, that they stop taking a risk.
I know, which is really sad and I can definitely relate to that. You know how I love to draw and doodle and all of that. And I remember I had done this one drawing of an angel flying over people's houses, and I really liked it. And my kids really liked it, and they were like, "Mom, you should have that made into cards and send that out to your clients." And I was like, "Oh, that's a lovely idea." So I took my happy self off to Kinko's, which I think is now out of business. And the person at Kinko said to me, "What a lovely drawing. Did your child do this?"
Oh,
And at the time Victoria was with me, she was about, I don't know, 10. And I looked over and I was like, I don't know. I don't even remember what I said. I just remember burning with embarrassment thinking, does it look like a 10-year-old did this? Like, what was I thinking? I'm so embarrassed. So I had them made and I had like, I don't know, 20 of them made. And I did send them out to a certain client. If a client, I don't know, sometimes I send people notes and letters. I don't know, about 3 months later, I kept getting emails and notes back from these clients saying, where can I buy that card? I really loved it.
oh,
And I never did anything with it because what held more weight in my mind was the girl at Kinko's going, "Oh, did your daughter do this?" Yeah,
yeah.
isn't
The,
that
the,
sad but true?
but brutally honest as well. And I think those are the things that we're talking about that cause the blocks, is a comment, someone else's judgment or opinion. But when you can engage in that playful creativity, which is what you excel, if the fact that your fiance comes home and finds you playing with your crystals and having a play date, you've got that down. You know, painting, doodly, improvising. But you,
Painting like a child. I've
yeah,
got it
but
down.
you find joy in the moment of doing it, not that, oh, this is going to be a card that is going to make me a lot of money. It's, you had,
No, 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 no. It was just something, it was just an image I wanted to share. And yet, so much of my images people don't get. And so I just stopped sharing them for the most part. Like, have you ever seen my lobster drawing? Nobody gets it.
I've never seen it.
All right, I need to send it to you.
Please do.
I did
Yes.
this little drawing, and there's a lobster going out an open kitchen door. And my favorite detail is she's got a little purse on her little claw. And she's saying, "Come on, hurry up." And then it's a kitchen, and you see this big pot of boiling water, and the other lobster is crawling out.
See, that's funny as hell.
And on the top, it says, "It's never too late. Don't give up."
Oh,
And I'm telling you, I have shown that to so many people. It started out on one of my kids' snack bags because one of my girls was having a crappy week at school, spring fever, all of that. And so that's what I drew on her snack bag. And she came home and was like, "Mom," that was kind of morbid. But the other one that I drew that no one really gets, it's a bunch of caterpillars at a cemetery, and they're all crying. And the cemetery stone says, like, here lies, John Doe, beloved father, grandfather, what have you. And the littlest caterpillar is saying to his mommy, "Don't worry, look, there's grandpa." And up above is a beautiful butterfly. And the grandpa is saying, "I'm here, I'm still here." But everyone's crying.
oh.
Yeah. But no one really gets that either.
Well, then I just don't think the right people are finding
Well,
them.
that's what it is.
I'm sure a lot of our listeners they're nodding their heads saying, "Oh, I love that." Maybe that's your next creative project is this line of cards. I don't know.
Line of cards that nobody gets. And everyone
Yeah.
thinks a 10-year-old did.
But it's fun and it brings you joy. And that's wonderful because that's what shuts your brain off. And
Yeah.
and that's one of the things is when you can not be judgmental with yourself and you can do things that quiet your mind or that are repetitive, you start to build that muscle memory, which allows you to shut it off and just be in the zone.
Yeah, exactly. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, being creative and being intuitive is about being true to yourself and being your original self,
Right,
even if people don't get it. And I
right.
think that's hard. I think that's the biggest risk we have to embrace.
I agree. I agree 100% because I keep coming back to the word fear, but that really fits. People are so afraid that it won't be good enough. It won't be enough. Nobody will want it. Who's going to bother with this? And then that keeps us small.
It does. It does. It keeps us small. It keeps us limited. It keeps us tucked into that cocoon.
Right.
And if I could go back to my Eminem documentary that I watched last night, his response to all of that was a big middle finger. Because he was like, "I'm going to be who I want to be, and y'all can take it or leave it."
Imagine if more of us do that, if we just really get comfortable. So we talked about brain chemistry, new solutions, creativity, but then, traditional forms of creativity or what is there anything to that? So we'll say crafting, drawing, painting, but there are studies that have shown that when you engage in something that you're creating physically, it instantly reduces stress, and 45 minutes of creative activity can lower your cortisol, which is the body's main stress hormone.
Oh, I totally believe that. I
Ma-
totally believe that. You can feel it in your body. It also keeps you in the present moment. And that ability to be in the present moment, even if it's for 5 minutes or 45 minutes, anything that puts you in that state of flow where you lose that sense of time and place, that's when you're going to feel truly, truly engaged and connected. And it's in this state where, you'll not only reduce anxiety, but it will leave you feeling more refreshed, focused, and mentally clear. And it also boosts your mood and your emotional well-being. Creativity is a natural mood booster.
It is. And so before you went to Kinko's, you did have that feeling of, wow, I made that. This is so cool. I love this. So it boosted your confidence and strengthened your belief in your abilities to have someone dash it, but up to that point. And there was a study done in the American Journal of Public Health many, many years ago now, but it found that creative tasks increase self efficacy and help people feel more capable of tackling challenges in other areas of their life too.
Oh, I can see that. That's so true. And another thing that we all need now, more than ever in any time throughout history, in my personal opinion, When you are connecting with your creativity, it also builds community.
Yes.
And that's important. I mean, how many times have you read a book or a poem? For me, it's usually a poem where you think, oh my gosh, someone else has thought that exact same thing. And you just feel suddenly seen and heard and connected. Or how many times have you seen a painting and you just get it? You just know exactly what that artist was trying to convey. And you just feel linked in to something greater and bigger than you.
And that's on a huge level. And even, the group that I've been working with lately, and I love them dearly. They're an amazing group of people. But we were having a conversation the other day, and someone brought something up in a conversation. I watch everyone on the screen nodding their heads. It was a big Zoom call. And just that feeling of, wow, somebody understands what I'm going through or what I'm feeling or how this feels to me. We need that desperately right now. We all need it.
We do. We absolutely do. And if you have a community in your town, if you have a community art center or an art museum or a community college that offers any type of art classes or writing classes, I think everyone should consider taking.
Well, I've never done this, but when they do the paint nights and people go sip and dip or something, they go
Oh,
have a
I've done
glass
that
of
a
wine
lot.
and they paint. Do you, is it fun? Do you feel community? Do you
It's
like
so
it?
fun, and everyone talks and everyone gets to know each other. And my favorite one is the paint your pet night.
Oh,
Yes, you just email them a picture of your pet and they sketch it out onto the canvas.
oh,
So, yeah, we have paintings done by us of our beloved Lily, and we have a painting of our beloved hamsters that have crossed the rainbow bridge.
oh.
But yeah, it is so fun. And it doesn't matter if you're good or bad at it. My dear friend really, really wanted to take a pottery workshop class and she couldn't find anyone to go with her. And I was like, well, I'm not great at pottery, but I'll go with you. And so I did. We went every week for 6 weeks. It was super fun. And I'm not embarrassed to admit, I am the only one that never made it to the wheel. That's how bad I was at pottery. But I still had a ton of fun. And the giant jar I made now houses all my loose change. And it's a lovely memory.
Oh, see, that's so fun. And you just made a really good point. It's not about how winning the ribbon at the fair because it's so good or something that you're like, oh my gosh, look what it's just the process. And you can do that. It might be paint by number is where you're at, or it might be something that whatever is going to allow you to focus and be present and just because think about we've both worked with little kids over the years. And when they're all engaged in an art project at a table and they're so content and happy and focused and they're all different and they're all unique, but each one of them is so proud of what they've made.
Oh, isn't that the sweetest thing ever to see?
Right. But
And
somehow we lose that.
we do lose that, but we can regain it and reclaim it. And it can be something fairly simple. I think needlepoint is simple. Cross
Mm-hmm.
stitching, a little bit harder. Needle pointing, everyone, I promise, can do that. And I have this beautiful memory. My mom always loved Thanksgiving and Christmas, and she was usually pretty happy around those times for the most part. And one year in the late 70s, she taught herself to needlepoint and she made a couple of things. But the one thing she really, really kept and got professionally framed was this beautiful, huge sign that says Merry Christmas. And every letter has different things needle pointed over it, hollies and berries and, gingerbread men. And I just love that because it's such a great memory of my mom. And guess who was able to inherit it? This girl. And I'm so excited because every holiday I'm going to hang that and it's going to be a positive memory of my mom. So just, think about how when you create anything, the lasting effects it can have on future generations. Like my children and their children will hang that and go, oh, that was Grandma Gigi's work. And that's just a lovely thing.
Yeah. And it holds the energy of the person
Yes. Oh, okay. Yeah.
in a good way.
In a good way. I'm just thinking about that.
Yeah.
Yes, the
Yeah.
sage.
Yeah. No.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding, Mom.
hopefully what we've shared today will help you realize that it's not how you do it. It's just a matter of gifting yourself the time to do something that connects with that part of your brain, that allows you to play, to be, to explore, to learn, because that's going to buffer all of this other intensity in the world right now.
Yes, yes. And the world is incredibly intense and hard and difficult and broken and divided right now. And we're not saying put on your Pollyanna panties and just ignore this. We are
No,
not saying that. What we are saying is that we need breaks.
we
Just
do.
as in school you get timeouts and recess and lunch, we need breaks from the enormity of what's going on in the world around us. And creativity allows us to do that. And added bonus, it helps enhance our intuition. And all of that is going to collectively help lift and raise our consciousness so that we can find a path to more unification.
And it may sound Pollyanna, but I don't care, is who knows, you might be the person that comes up with a solution in that mindful state that really helps a lot of other people, or you come up with a way to temper the divisiveness that's in the world. It we never know. We never know what's going to come through for us.
No, that's why we just need to stay open.
Yeah.
So thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in and listening. Remember, as always, to keep staying open, connect to your creativity, and to show up, do great work, or do mediocre work. Just do your work and have fun with it and share your light.
Take care.